Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today we're back at this haunted house. I'm going to try to clean up all the stuff in the bottom of the cabinet and under the playfield. Excuse me, Mr. Django. I'm going to step over you. Alright, so let's start back here. What do we got? So we got the old original capacitor filter cap. We'll swap that out. Still need to ground these solenoids here up to, I'm pointing up to the power supply. Haven't done that yet. This wire nut, that is from, let's see, we got this red wire here, and we got another black wire here. It's red and black wires. That's a mod it's a good mod actually. Basically, you add a pop bumper driver to the bottom of the playfield, like sitting right there, and you add a pop bumper driver to drive this kicker here, which makes it kick more reliably. This one, as originally designed, wasn't reliably strong enough to kick it up, so you put a pop bumper driver in there. It's a mod that's been around for a while, and this one's got it, and it's good. It just didn't wire it up the best way, so I'll probably go ahead and put a Molex plug, because these two wires get plugged in to, you see the bottom, that's the lower playfield sitting there. You see those red and black wires hanging off there? They get connected to that. So instead of using wire nuts, I'll probably just put a Molex plug between the two of them. Yeah, and there you see another wire nut. I'm not gonna get rid of that. Let me back up here. If I can step over Django here. What somebody did do, which was kind of nice, they labeled what they had done to K relay. Anyway, pretty nice. So basically that thing gets that extra pop bumper driver gets its 5-volt and ground from this one right here. So a couple other things to note down here. There's just a lot of debris, or debris if you're a vice gripper. Some of y'all understand that. You know, those little bolts and screws and washers. There's a washer. You know, they all get down in here, and there's one of these. Yeah, that one's sitting right back there, right about there. You know. How easy would that be to short across something? Pretty dang easy. So you got to get all these loose little metal parts. I've already picked up loose solder everything. So the problem is, you know, you're working on the cabinet, you drop a screw, it goes in the bottom of the cabinet, and then at some point this cabinet gets flipped up on its vertically, and all that crap runs the back. And on this game, the back has 110 volts. It's got a couple transformers, so it's got some places to really screw you up pretty badly. So got to take care of all that stuff. This connector here also has some gobbledygook. Right there, just twisted together, and then that is, who wants to bet what this looks like? Usually underneath the electrical tape is a picture of ugly. I'm going to use both hands. I'm going to get it off real quick. Yeah, that's what it looks like underneath there. I don't think it's soldered. Anyway, fix that. Run all those through. Basically, put a new pin in there and do it right. Heat shrink it and clean it all up. So you remember this game was completely working. So all this stuff, as it was actually working. Just clean this up for reliability, really. That needs to go. That one is where's the date code? If you see it, 8139. So it's 39th week of 1981. That one's done. Pretty rusty. I mean, it's still working, but probably not as well as it should. And who knows for how long. So I guess we'll get after it. All right, so that's a lot better looking. Probably noticed this thing's busted off, so I'm gonna apply a liberal amount of glue, tap that back in there, and let it set up. That's Django hitting the camera stand. He likes to get involved in the videos, apparently. And here you can see, let me take off the stand for a second. Here you can see this extra pop bumper driver that is driving that up kicker. You can see they've got the 5-volt in the ground, and I don't really trust the way that I'm probably going to replace this connector here and just put on a new one with non-IDC pins, regular pins. So I don't trust those, and route these wires. This wire here was just kind of ran back. The black ones kind of run fairly decently. They've got it tucked into some of these bands. Maybe I'll put a couple of zip ties, but basically take both of these and run it a little more nicely, bring it over to here, and put a Molex, two times Molex plug there. And like I said, redo that connector. Check out the connector on this one's probably about the same way. They kind of just jammed in there, sticking to the wire. But anyway. While we're speaking about pop bumper drivers, there's an upgrade to, well, it's not an upgrade, it's basically a modification that came out, factory bulletin came out from Gottlieb. They originally made these things wrong, and a pretty significant modification. Here's the unmodified version, and here's the modified version. The easy way to tell the difference somebody's modified them is there's a jumper right here, so it looks like a staple on it almost, instead of, I believe that's a diode. Anyway, and I think one of these capacitors, the original capacitor, or that capacitor there, is in backwards. It was a pretty significant problem. Now, apparently they still kind of work, because occasionally I'll find a game that still got the other one, the old one. So here's the other one. Yeah, so that the polarity on that one is backwards. You're supposed to replace that with a jumper and replace that cap and reflow the solder. So I believe I didn't, let's just real quick. These have not been upgraded. I saw the initials just real quickly, looked at the initials, somebody's checked them, but I thought maybe, but they all need to be upgraded. Those two, that one, I bet they all do. Yeah, probably the one over there also. Geez, fun. So I get to pull all those boards out. Well, we'll do that on this video too, at least one of them. So first I'm going to go ahead and I think, well, maybe I'll take care of one of these pop bumpers and do it on camera here right now. So I'll do that. So I got this pop bumper driver over here on the bench. Let's see. So this cap has been swapped, but it's still in the wrong orientation. The negative's supposed to be the other side. The diode's still there. Somebody has reflowed the solder here. It looks like they've swapped out that chip. It's working now, but we're gonna do all the upgrades. That's the thing, is these they'll work without the upgrade, but I guess it'll work better with it. We're gonna get to it here. Yep. Those are really laid down flat. But, maybe bend those up a little bit before I yank it out. And that baby there has got to come out too. Oh, and it's really bent over too. I'm barely prying on it. At least using that like an extra finger. Okay, I got the parts off. So now we need a 4.7 microfarad 10 volt and a 100 microfarad. Yeah, 4.710 and a 110. So let me see if I got it over here. There's a 4.7. And here's 100. So orient it like I've got my computer open here, make sure I get it the right way. So the 100 goes on the bottom left with a negative to the left. And the 4.7 goes here with a negative to the top. So the stripe is a negative, also the short lead is a negative. And I'm going to save one of these longer wires after I cut it off and use that as my jumper. It's a nice long one. I guess both of those are the same size pretty much. If that's long enough. Yep. And geez, I'll have to go ahead and reflow these. They've been reflowed before and they look decent, but you know, I'm here, so why not? All right, so I don't know how many more pop bumper drivers there are in this game, 3 or 4 maybe. Anyway, I'll go ahead and do all of them and we'll move on from there. So there were 4 boards in the game. One of them had already been upgraded, had the jumper staple looking thing. And interestingly, so they all 4 had a new cap. This cap here was replaced in all 4 of them, and 2 of them had this chip replaced. So I'm wondering if maybe this upgrade is to protect that cap and that chip. I don't know. Maybe without the upgrade, it likes to eat that chip and that cap. Anyway, but normally this game would have 3, but this one's got an extra one for that up kicker. So I'm gonna put them back in and we'll move on. Well, I got that old bracket out of there, and this is one. This is basically a cable collector for an old Bally. So I'm gonna screw that in there like such. But the first thing I do, some of y'all may know the answer to this, I do not. This thing is not inherently marked which was positive and negative. One of them, the leads is red. I assume that's positive, but I certainly don't want to put this thing in backwards. And they're also like off to one side, so maybe when they're off to one side, the left one is, if you're in this orientation, the left one would be positive. I don't know. There are wire colors, so I'm going to look in the schematic and just make sure that this blue one is positive. So it's blue and black, and then there's a green. So I dig out the schematics and find out for sure. That capacitor in the schematics, there's the bridge rectifier, and one side of it, there's the colors are not labeled, and the other side is 200. So it would be red, maybe with a black stripe. We don't have a red wire. So, I'm just going to turn it on and measure it, and I'll figure out for sure what the polarity is. All right, so let's take a back step here. I did a few things off camera because we had some issues here. So, I was trying to measure the voltage on there, figure which one's positive or negative. For sure, there was no voltage at all. Game wasn't booting up. I'm like, what in the heck? So, opened up the back box, measuring the voltage. I had no 5 volts at the power supply. Like crap. So next thing I did was I unplugged this one right here, that cable that feeds the 5 volts over here. And all of a sudden, I get my 5 volts back. Light comes on, and I measure on the pin there, and I got right at 5 volts. It's like, okay, so this is pulling my 5 volts to 0, basically. Like, it was like 0.1, 0.2. So I was like, did I somehow fry the MPU? So next thing I did is I unplugged everything off the MPU. Yep, it's got my 5 volts back. Apparently it booted. So then I put my displays on there, and I'm surely booted because then I could see the displays going. Then I started connecting these things, and all of a sudden, was it? I believe it was this one anyway. It's one of these two. I forget. When that one, and I didn't do any of these connections with it turned on. I turned it off, turn it back on, turn it off, turn it on, and it was one. I can't. Well, anyway, one of those two. Lost my 5 volts again. I was like, well, what? I've been playing with my pop bumpers. It's probably one of the pop bumpers. So I plugged everything back in, and I unplugged all those 4 pop bumpers. And again, it boots again. So for sure, it's the pop bumper, or one of them. And it turns out it's this one. I'm not sure I put them all in the same place they were before. That doesn't matter because they're all the same. But this one, if I plug that in, it's pulling my 5 volts for the whole game down to 0. So this thing's shorted out. I don't think it's the orientation. I mean, I'm looking at the orientation of these two, that cap and that cap versus this one over here, and they're the same. It's got the jumper in the same spot, and that's the only 3 things I did. Maybe I've got a glob of solder that's shorted across one of these caps or something. That'd be possible, or maybe one of the caps is bad. I don't know, but I'm gonna pull it out and look. Okay, so I got this pop bumper here on the bench. It's one of the caps put in, and then there's the jumper. I mean, it's shorted, but of course it's supposed to be. Ooh, no, that's got a trace there. I thought for a second that was shorted adjacent, but there is a little tiny trace there. Here's the other one. Oh, sure enough, that's shorted. Oh, there is a tiny little solder bridge. Jeez. Should always inspect your work. Huh. Yeah. I couldn't see that very well. So, you know, when you're soldering stuff like that, always just get a multimeter and measure it out. Home it out. Like I didn't do. Okay, well. Put it back in and we'll be good to go. Alright, so now we got the game booted up with all the pop bumpers, drivers plugged in. So now I'll go back and measure the voltage on the that filter capacitor in the bottom of the cabinet. This one, that one right there. So I just measured it off camera, and the blue is indeed positive, which makes sense, the green being ground, and it's got a little red dot on there. So I will mount that other capacitor and solder those on, and then we got some other wires to tidy up down here. And that's all the pieces and parts there. I disconnected them. See the pin, a little piece of wire, and then so you got two twisted. It's just nonsense. So I'm gonna get some wire. I'm gonna solder it there, put some heat shrink, and then pin it in there, and it'll be look professional and it'll be solid. So I'll just show you that crimp connection there. Pull it along, but that's okay. It's got the little baby crimp on the wire, nice and crimped, and it's got the crimp on the insulation. So if you're using a manual crimper, you gotta stop, get one of these. So you see there's two sets of jaws in there, and the outer ones are a little bit larger, so they don't crimp quite as far because it's got to go around the insulation. And it's a lot faster, and it does a lot better job crimping. You're not gonna get a crimp that looks that good using a little manual set of crimpers. And a tool like this is an off-brand one. It was not super expensive. I don't know. I think I got it off the Jungle website, Amazon. Anyway, so I'm just gonna solder that on and heat shrink it and be good to go. Welcome back here to one of my junk games. And by the way, I did not junk this. I bought this thing. It was already junked. It's already mostly stripped of a lot of its parts. I'm digging for a Molex connector because I don't have one. I don't have both sides. I got a bunch of females. I don't have any males sides. I got the pins, but not the plastic housing. I don't see anything down here. Oh, there's one. Right there. Yeah, I'll cut that dude out, and that'll work. So we got that Molex connector mounted in the game. So now you'll be able to take the Playfield out without undoing wire nuts. Wire nuts don't really belong much in a pinball game. I know a few of them had them in the bottom for the AC voltage coming in, but that's about the only place you're going to see them in a pinball machine. And I'll tidy these wires up here in a little bit, get them but I've still got to redo this connector, this pop bumper there. That connector there is bad, so I'm going to repin that connector, and still got to get this ground down here, ground that up to the top. All right, so I added the one last ground. I went from here, and remember all this is grounded, and that wire runs down through the cabinet and to this ground strip. This is where all the solenoids are grounded here. So basically this and the transformer, everything, all this has the same ground as your power supply. By the way, I showed you grounding this to this frame and the MPU to this also, and that got the game booted. I went ahead and grounded all the other boards, so they've all got a wire that's on some place with good ground. And it's either, yeah, I've got it mounted this frame here. So all the boards on this are all grounded. So all the ground mods are done. I believe the only thing left, I've got to tidy these wires up. I've got to get this one connector on that pop bumper. It was an IDC, and somebody has jammed extra wires in there, and this guy, his number one thing was he wants it to be reliable. So I want it to be reliable too. So got to get that done. By the way, I filmed some clips the other day where Jane was painting. She painted right up here, and I think I'll just go ahead and insert them and some more over here. I was basically nagging her, giving her a hard time, so I'll stick those videos in right here. So what are you doing here? I'm not talking to you, Django. I'm talking to your mama.
Django already did it. He crawled underneath my legs when I was painting, and it went all over the place.
So what have you painted, and what are you painting left? What have you already done?
Well, we had a lot of bare wood, so I just put some orange coloring in all this bare wood up here.
I see you there where it's been painted. Yeah,
we had total bald spot here, which I've repaired.
Well, move your Q-tips. I can see. It's hard to. Okay, I can see the little spots. Yeah.
And
I tell you what, from back here though, it looks perfect. This is a player's view. Yeah.
This was bare wood in this area.
Yeah.
So it's no longer bare
Okay,
wood.
yeah, I can see the perimeter there.
Yeah.
Is
Well-
it paint dry yet?
No,
Oh, okay, it's still wet. All right.
it's still wet, and it's
You haven't
the first
coated it
coat.
yet either. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a little early here. Well, I wanted to see the process. So this is your palette.
Yeah, that is my palette, and the orange, I've done all the orange down here, and I'm gonna go in and do some just yellow.
I want to watch you paint. So paint. Everybody wants to see.
Everybody wants to see it. Well, I got to use these Q-tip things to correct all my errors. So, because Lord knows we got some errors. So I'm using a yellow. This is actually orange yellow. This is cadmium dark.
And that's all acrylic paint.
Yes, and this is cadmium red. Even though it looks orange, it's technically red. And yellow ochre kind of gets in there and makes it match the aging.
On the phone, I can really hardly just tell. Let me get really close. Yeah, you really just can't tell.
Can't tell that I've done anything, or
No.
can't tell that.
You can't tell where the paint is, new paint starts and ends.
Well, good. Well, that's the point. Hopefully. So some of this stuff that's like gouged,
Yeah.
it's gonna take a while to kind of build up because I'm basically filling the gouge with the paint. So, like, it's okay if it doesn't completely match on this first coat because I'm gonna go over it a couple times and try and get it to where it's not gouged.
Yeah, that's where that pop protector was. We pulled it up and it was loose. It wasn't glued down, so all the debris gets underneath there and just grinds.
Yep.
Hence all the little scratches and gouges.
So yeah, it was gouged down to bare wood. And so now I'm basically right this second, I'm just filling the gouge. And this will take a few
What
coats.
about that gouge there? That one needs some attention too.
I can't even see that from where
Well,
I
that's why I'm
am.
pointing it out.
Thank
I
you.
don't want you to miss it.
No, I don't want to miss a gouge.
Especially that one because it's you can.
You can see it from
kinda
that point of
yeah, you can
view.
see that from the player's shooting spot.
Okay, well, work
There's
on
another
that
one
a
right over
little
here.
bit.
You need to get that one. That one's killing me.
I know, it's killing me too, dude.
If you just fill it up, I would feel so much better.
You're just wrong. Of course, you're in my light, so I can't see what I'm doing. And that's my story, and I'm
Just get that
sticking
one
to
spot.
it.
It's like I got an itch on my back, and you won't get the one spot I really need you to get, and you're going around it, and it's like, it's killing
What's
me. It's
this
killing
spot?
me. Yes, thank you. Oh God, thank you.
Well, I didn't quite match the color as
Okay,
well.
now I feel satiated. All right.
But see now, I mean, I got some color on the pop bumper guard, so I'm gonna have to wipe that off
Yeah.
pretty quick.
You get 3 demerits for that.
Well, that won't be there in 2 minutes.
All right. Yeah, we'll pause it here. Went ahead and got the rotisserie out here. Sure makes me thirsty. So another little nugget here. Check out this diode. This is a lower right flipper. So I think what they meant to go is between from here to here and from here to here. Yeah, I guess that's what they've done. That's just kind of an ugly way of doing it. Really, mostly they just need it from here to here. From across the 2 outside ones, because that's where the high power is at. The low power coil is not really much of an issue. And then I see over here, if you look at this one, let me get some of these wires out of the way. Yeah, you see it, this one not even attached. So when I see stuff like this, the story it tells me is somebody tried to solder it, and they tried to not get the tab so hot that this other wire comes unsoldered. So they just try to tack it on there. And there you can see it's like there's almost no solder on there. And the saw that you see looks like cast metal. It's not good and shiny. It should have a smooth, shiny surface without little divots. That when it looks like little cast, that's what it looks like to me, like cast. It's all rough and edged. It's not a good flow. It ought to be hot enough that it's fully molten and it has a nice smooth texture to it. So this nonsense is coming off. That nonsense is coming off. I'm gonna do it like the factory one over here across the outer two. Anyway. So I got those little diodes back on there. You see the solder is nice and shiny and kind of a continuous blob instead of little jagged edges. So I believe I'm pretty much done with this. I've got some, I got to rebuild the pops, or sorry, not the pops, the flippers. And there's 8 of them, so that's quite a bit. Short of that, just a few cosmetic things. I'm going to replace these white targets because they're not really white. There's a few of those ones. I think there's one on the top Playfield also. I wish I could do something about that, but those are underneath Mylar, so you know, when they put down the Mylar, they encapsulated that wear, and that's going to stay. Top. A couple other things. So these white Siamese posts are not available anywhere I've found, but they do have clear ones, and frankly, all the rest of the posts are clear. They probably just didn't make this in clear at the time, so they put white. They're going to go clear, so those will match everything else, and they'll look nice. And these are pretty dingy, so I got some new of those. After I ordered them, I found a brand new pair in the cabinet. The owner had, either he had bought them or they came with the game when he got it. But in any case, so those are going to get swapped out too. Yeah, oh, there's a bunch more of those white targets. Yeah, swap all those out. They'll be nice and white like these. Oh, there's another one there. And there's 3 more. Geez, there's a bunch of them. So, yeah, I may have to buy. I don't know if I've got that many white targets. I probably got 6 or 8 of them laying around here. I don't know if I've got that many. May have to be talking to Steve. Steve, I need some white targets. He's going to say which kind. Kind with the nipples or not. These are the ones without. Anyway, so I think I'll stop here. This video and this game. Nobody wants to watch rebuilding flippers. Well, maybe you do, but I'm about to give up. I'm done with this game for the day in any case. So I hope you liked the video, and go ahead and click subscribe. Cheers, till next time. Well, a little addendum, because it's always something. So I got it all put together, and I was playing some test games and playing. And boom, lost all the sound, lost all the solenoids. I'm like, well, what the heck happened? Well, I blew the fuse for the solenoids. I'm like, what the heck? Put another fuse in there, pops it again. So then I put it was an 8 amp slow blow, so I put a 5 amp breaker in there, and it still kept doing it. So I was like, well, what have I been working on? Pop bumper drivers. So I unplugged them one at a time. This is the one that's the up kicker. And I'm not sure, I didn't put them back in the same spot as I took them out of. Maybe I should have. It shouldn't really matter. But anyway, I played several games and the kicker was working fine. And so I don't know. This is a PMD 10K40. If I look in the manual here, it calls for a PMD 10K60. And I've looked online, and that's 60 versus 40. That's how many volts it's rated for. So this thing is really not big enough. So I'm wondering if this looks pretty old. I don't know if somebody swapped in a 40. I guess I could look at the other ones. Let me look at the other ones, see if they're all 40s or if this is only 40. Well, that one's a 60. Geez, I can't even get down to the other one. I'll get down there, y'all tell me what it says. Can you see that? I can't see it. Maybe it's 40, maybe it's 60. Anyway, this one that I can see is easy as 60. I can reach this one here. Oh, that's one I just pulled out. That's the dead one. How about that other one? Can you see that one there? Maybe not.
I'm trying to get where I can see it. It's 2N6057. Wow, that's completely different. That's a 60. 2N6057, I guess that's an equivalent. But again, it's a 60, so that's probably 60 volts. I might have a 2N6057. Anyway, so either they stuck this in on a Friday at the Gottlieb factory, or somebody swapped this out in the past, and it's held on, you know. But it's done now. I'm glad it died now, not later. So I'll get a new one, or see if I've got a 6057. Or I don't have the PMD 10K60. So it's always fun. So one last thought, y'all can tell me if you think I'm onto something here. So rebuild this thing, should be kicking a little bit harder than it did before, because we've got it with the upgrades. Well, it's not really an upgrade, it's the regrade. It was defective. It's not like you're upgrading it to something better. You're removing the error that was made in the original design. So I mean, the timing is kind of odd, you know, just upgrade the board and then, you know, like 5 games later, this thing blows out. Did upgrading this board, making it basically fire harder, that allowed the full voltage of the solenoid to hit this thing a little bit harder, and that killed it? Was it just, surely it's not just random timing. That would be quite odd. Who knows? Anyway, that's what I'm thinking.